This is for those on a spiritual journey. If this resonates with you, I'm sure that it's going to find you. I'm looking for my soul fam in this video. So I mentioned in an earlier video that I meant reading this book, Mary Magdalene Revealed. It tapped into something that I've been trying to do more research into, which is the roots of Christianity. As a kid, I was really connected to Christianity, and I think a lot of people that I knew as an adult were as well, but a lot of us had moved away from it and became agnostic or atheist. I really resonated with it though, and I've known others that did, but it was like we were missing information. And the Bible, the interpretations of it, the way that the church is even structured, those were decisions that were made by the Roman Empire. And it was an intentional act to control the population. One of the major things that it did was it changed the story of Mary Magdalene. So Mary Magdalene was Jesus's counterpart. This is the feminine energy. This is what I'm getting back to. So as I've gone through my spiritual growth, I've explored a lot of different religions, and I've just now circled back to Christianity. And I was like, I know in any religious belief, all of that power, all of that knowledge, it's residing in us. The feminine energy has an attunement to it that's often easier than the masculine energy. I spent a good decade or so working much more in my masculine energy in a corporate job, as a scientist, as a business leader. And it's only been more recently that I've been finding peace in my life as I've been trying to find the balance and my connection to my own femininity, which was embodied in the story and the life of Mary Magdalene, who was Jesus's counterpart. In her book, she wrote a book in the Bible that was suppressed in around 300 AD. But in her book, she talks about the knowledge that she came to and the understanding that Jesus knew she would have over the other disciples. Some of the other disciples didn't appreciate her differences in opinion, and in that time tried to push back on her and not think that it was right, that Jesus would have ever thought that a lowly woman could have possibly understood the world in a better way than the other male apostles. But many understood that he did love her most, and that is words that were actually in multiple books in the Bible. And Jesus kissed her. We don't know if anything else happened. At least that wasn't in any of the records that I've seen. But I presume that there was a romantic bond between those two and an elevation that's shared between the two. Finding your feminine energy or your masculine energy, or finding union, if that's something that you want in a relationship, is sort of a false goal. What you really need is a union within yourself. Your masculine energy, which is your human element, your connection to the world, and your feminine element, which is the spirituality, the self-knowing, the oneness with God, universe, the world, other human beings. We're all interconnected, and every person's experience is a lesson for us. That doesn't mean we have to choose to agree with anybody else or choose to spend time and energy with another person. Everybody's individual energy is of value to themselves, and they shouldn't just give that away to people that don't appreciate it or aren't willing to give it back. But as we find that balance between human and godlike or spiritual entity, that's when we're fully embodying union. It's when it doesn't matter anymore whether or not we're in a relationship with another human or whatever we're seeing it as, but it allows us to be at peace with ourselves and move forward in life. Now, I think that that also raises our energy, so that maybe if you are meant to be with somebody in this life, that person can then match your energy and find you. But if it's not meant to be, that's okay too, because people often spend very happy lives without anybody else. And I think that that comes from this place of this knowing and alignment within ourselves and our bodies. But that story between Mary Magdalene and Jesus was very much suppressed for a reason. And every time that it started to come back up in the popular world, it was also right before World War happened. Right before World War I, it was discovered. Right before World War II, it was discovered in a different location. Both times it was going to get published, but then the war kept it from being published. Now, this book was actually published a few years ago, Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. And the New Testament was also a book that was released that included the missing books of the Bible that were suppressed. So those suppressed books were actually forced to be burned, and a few rebellious monks managed to bury them in certain places around the world, and then those got rediscovered over history, and now those have been translated and published as well, so that we can know these missing pieces, which I encourage people to read and interpret for themselves rather than taking that information from somebody else. I feel like that's how we as a society got to where we are now, by not actually taking our own power over our knowledge, reading and firsthand developing the basis of what we understand the world to be. Because it's in that we can find our highest timeline, our highest potential, and live as the way that Jesus or divine or whatever you believe in is intended. It's the recognition that we're all one and we're never alone, and happiness is always our job.